Have you ever noticed how a single insult can ruin your entire day? How someone's harsh words can echo in your mind long after they've been spoken? In a world where interactions can quickly turn hostile, learning to respond wisely to insults isn't just a social skill. It's an act of profound self-preservation. By the end of our journey today, you'll discover how Dale Carnegie's timeless wisdom can transform your response to difficult people, freeing you from the emotional prison that insults often create. When someone insults you, what happens in that first split second? Your breath catches, your heart rate increases, your mind floods with defensive thoughts. This is your ancient brain activating its fight or flight response. Yet in modern life, neither fighting back nor fleeing serves us well in most situations. Carnegie understood something profound. How we respond to insults reveals more about our inner landscape than about the person insulting us. Think of an insult as a mirror, not reflecting the truth of who you are, but revealing the emotional state of the one who speaks it. When dealing with people, remember you're not dealing with creatures of logic, but with creatures of emotion. Carnegie reminds us. Isn't there freedom in this perspective? The person insulting you is usually acting from their own pain, insecurity, or momentary imbalance. Their words are symptoms of their inner state. Consider this. Have you ever insulted someone when you were feeling completely at peace, fulfilled, and centered? Probably not. Those who feel truly secure rarely need to diminish others. The insult says more about their inner world than about your worth or character. Carl Jung would call this projection, the unconscious attribution of one's own unacceptable qualities or emotions to other people. We attack in others what we cannot face in ourselves. Pause for a moment. Remember a recent time when someone's words stung you. What might have been happening in their inner world at that moment? What if their harsh words were actually a cry for understanding, validation, or simply a release valve for their own suffering? The first step in mastering your response is recognizing this deeper truth. An insult is rarely personal, even when disguised as the most personal attack imaginable. Imagine you're walking through a hospital and a patient in pain lashes out at you. Would you take it personally or recognize it as a symptom? Carnegie suggests we view all difficult behaviors this way, as symptoms of an emotional state, not accurate assessments of our character or worth. Any fool can criticize, condemn, and complain, and most fools do, Carnegie wrote. Yet how often do we give these criticisms the power to define our self-worth? This perspective doesn't just protect us emotionally, it opens the door to compassion, both for ourselves and for the person struggling so much they resort to insults. When we respond from this understanding, we create space for healing rather than escalation. We choose wisdom over reactivity. But understanding the psychology behind insults is only the beginning. What happens within us when those harsh words land is equally important. The sting of an insult activates our shadow, those disowned parts of ourselves that we fear might actually be true. This is why specific insults hurt more than others. If someone calls you selfish and you've secretly worried about this quality in yourself, the insult lands with extra force. It touches a tender spot in your self-concept. The Roman philosopher Epictetus understood this when he said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Our reaction reveals our wounds. When an insult pierces deeply, ask yourself, what about this touched a nerve? What am I afraid might be true? This inner inquiry transforms the insult from an attack to be defended against into a doorway for self-knowledge. The very thing that hurts can become a teacher. Think of it as emotional alchemy, transforming the lead of painful interactions into the gold of self-awareness. This is how we grow from difficult encounters. Consider the story of a renowned professor who was publicly criticized by a colleague. Instead of defending himself, he thanked his critic for the feedback. Later, a student asked why he responded so graciously to such harsh criticism. Because, he said, "I learned long ago that my critics are my greatest teachers." This doesn't mean the criticism was fair or accurate, only that our response to it determines whether we suffer or grow from the experience. Thich Nhat Hanh offers another perspective. When someone insults you, you have two choices: to receive it or to refuse it. I suggest refusing it. Imagine the insult as a gift being handed to you. You can choose to accept this package of negativity, or you can simply leave it in the hands of the giver. Take a deep breath now. Feel the spaciousness that comes when you recognize you have a choice in how you respond to the words of others. This leads us to the practical question: how exactly do we respond when someone insults us? Carnegie offers several approaches that transform these difficult moments. First, consider the radical power of agreement. "You're absolutely right" can disarm the most aggressive critic, especially when followed by a thoughtful pause. This isn't about admitting fault where none exists, but about stepping out of the combat arena altogether. You're refusing to engage in the expected pattern of attack and defense. Imagine someone says, "You never listen to anyone." Instead of defending yourself, try, "You might be right. I could certainly listen more carefully." Watch what happens. The person expecting a fight suddenly finds themselves without an opponent. The emotional charge often dissipates immediately. Carnegie called this finding the grain of truth. Even in unfair criticism, there's often a small element we can acknowledge, creating connection rather than division. A second powerful approach is genuine curiosity. "That's interesting. Could you help me understand what makes you see it that way?" This response transforms an attack into a conversation. It signals your emotional stability and often reveals the real issue beneath the insult. A manager I know was accused of always playing favorites by an angry employee. Instead of defending himself, he asked, "What have I done that gave you that impression?" The conversation revealed the employee felt overlooked for opportunities. The insult was really a poorly expressed request for recognition and guidance. By responding with curiosity instead of defensiveness, the manager addressed the real need behind the accusation. Their relationship ultimately strengthened. A third approach Carnegie valued was strategic silence. Sometimes, saying nothing at all is the most powerful response. Silence creates space. It prevents escalation. It gives both parties time to breathe, reflect, and potentially shift their approach. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca advised, the greatest remedy for anger is delay. Silence provides this delay naturally, without effort or argument. When you choose silence, make it mindful. Don't seethe internally while appearing calm externally. Use the moment to breathe deeply and center yourself. This isn't passive, it's profoundly active. You're choosing your response rather than reacting automatically. You're breaking the cycle of emotional contagion. Remember that your body language speaks volumes even in silence. Maintain eye contact if appropriate. Keep your posture open and breathe steadily. A fourth approach is redirection through genuine appreciation. I value your feedback, and I also appreciate your expertise in this area. This shifts the interaction from confrontation to collaboration. It acknowledges the person while gently moving toward more constructive territory. The psychologist William James observed, "The deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated." This need often lies beneath hostile communication. By responding with authentic appreciation for something about the person, you're addressing this deeper need while declining to engage with the hostility. A fifth approach is perspective taking. I understand this looks different from your position. Let me try to see it through your eyes. This response diffuses tension by acknowledging the validity of different viewpoints. It creates space for mutual understanding rather than combat. The philosopher Martin Buber spoke of I-thou relationships, where we truly see the humanity in others. This approach invites that deeper connection. When we sincerely try to understand another's perspective, even one expressed harshly, we create possibility where before there was only conflict. Take a moment now to consider which of these approaches resonates most with you, which might be most helpful in your current relationships. Each approach requires practice. Each asks us to override our instinctive defensive reactions. Each invites us to respond from our higher nature. Carnegie believed that our response to criticism ultimately shapes our character more than almost any other aspect of life. You can measure a person's greatness by the way they treat those who can do nothing for them, he wrote. This includes those who criticize or insult us. The final dimension of responding wisely to insults involves your inner work after the interaction ends. This is where lasting growth happens. After a difficult exchange, give yourself permission to feel whatever emotions arise. Notice them with compassion, not judgment. If anger surfaces, acknowledge it. I'm feeling angry right now. This simple naming often reduces the emotion's power over your thoughts and actions. Viktor Frankl reminded us that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. This space grows larger with practice. What initially triggers an immediate reaction eventually becomes an opportunity for conscious choice. Consider keeping an emotional triggers journal, where you record situations that provoke strong reactions. Patterns will emerge, offering insights about your sensitive areas. These patterns often connect to childhood experiences or core beliefs about yourself. They're invitations to healing parts of your story that still cause pain. The psychologist Carl Rogers observed that what is most personal is most universal. Your triggers are doorways to understanding not just yourself, but human nature. When you find yourself ruminating on an insult hours or days later, try this practice. Write down the exact words that hurt you. Then ask, is this absolutely true? Can I know with certainty this is true? Often, upon reflection, we see the statement contains distortions or exaggerations. Next, explore, how do I feel and behave when I believe this thought? Notice how believing the insult affects your mood, actions, and view of yourself. Finally, consider, who would I be without this thought? How would I feel if I couldn't believe this about myself? This creates space for a different perspective. This practice, inspired by Byron Katie's The Work, helps disarm the lasting power of insults by questioning our automatic acceptance of them as truth. Remember, too, that forgiveness of yourself and others is not a single act, but a practice. It's a path you walk daily, choosing freedom over resentment. As Carnegie said, instead of worrying about what people say of you, why not spend time trying to accomplish something they will admire? This redirects your energy from rumination to creation, from defending your image to living your values. It's the ultimate response to criticism of any kind. Let's pause now. Take a deep breath. Feel the spaciousness that comes with having multiple ways to respond rather than a single reactive pattern. We've explored the psychology behind insults, our internal reactions, and practical ways to respond with wisdom rather than defensiveness. Each difficult interaction becomes an opportunity to practice these approaches, gradually transforming your relationship with criticism and conflict. As we conclude our journey together, remember that mastering your response to insults isn't about winning arguments. It's about maintaining your inner peace. Carnegie's wisdom reminds us that how we handle challenging people often determines the quality of our lives more than any external circumstance. The next time someone's words sting, pause. Remember that you have choices beyond fight or flight. You can respond from wisdom rather than wound. In that moment of choice lies your freedom and the possibility of transforming a potential conflict into an opportunity for growth, both for yourself and for the other person. Today, commit to practicing just one of the approaches we've explored. Notice how it feels to respond rather than react, to choose rather than be chosen for. This practice isn't about perfection, but presence, being fully aware in difficult moments and accessing your deeper wisdom rather than your automatic defenses. In this way, even the most challenging interactions become doorways to a more conscious, connected way of being in the world.